Hey there, Knicks fans. This NBA season, every shot you take with FANATICS Sportsbook puts points on the board. Earn up to 10% FANCASH on your bets, win or lose. So even if your bet misses, you're still scoring FANCASH. Unlock the world of FANATICS with FANCASH for exclusive rewards like authentic apparel, game tickets, and meeting legend at FANATICS events. Make the switch and turn every bet into a bucket with FANATICS Sportsbook. Winning hits different here. Oh, that was hysterical. Somewhere Tom Thibodeau just had a heart attack. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by our friends at FANATICS Sportsbook, where we are here to talk about a very interesting game against the Orlando Magic, in which the Knicks obtained their first win in 3 tries against said Orlando Magic team. Final score, I believe, was 106 to 100, although I think I blacked out at a certain point when that thing was coming down the stretch. A lot to talk about in this game, for sure. A lot to talk about, and I think it's going to be mostly good, although I could, it'll be good, and then there will be some interesting conversation points, shall we say, probably before the time we are through. I do want to open the show by saying, what's the right word? Best of luck, and I hope everything is okay with Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner, who is one of the best young players in basketball. It seems actually disingenuous to call him a young player because he's playing like a KG vet at this point. He was on his way, without question, to his first All-Star game, and I hope he will still be on his way to his first All-Star game, and that this is not a serious injury, but it didn't look great. I mean, he was making a push for All-NBA. So I want to open the show just by sending out some positive vibes to him. You know, you never want to see an opposing player go down with an injury, unless they're Joel Embiid, obviously. Fuck that guy. But no, Franz is a good dude, and obviously Huck Porty, no ill intent there from Ariel. But I also wanted to open the show with the shout out to Franz, because the one thing that I don't want to do, and I'm not going to do, is to diminish what was an impressive win because Franz Wagner left this game, whatever it was, 2/3 of the way into the first quarter in a game that I think it was a 4-point game at the time. Orlando was up by 4. I want to say it was 22-18. It felt like they were in pretty much complete control of the game. And if you're someone that was watching that game and say, oh, this is going to be another Knick loss to this Magic team, I'm not going to blame you for that. But part of the reason why the Magic have I don't want to say thoroughly dominated the Knicks, because I don't think that's fair. They have outplayed the Knicks as much as any team in the NBA this year. Let's say that. Part of the reason is because the Knicks have allowed Orlando's physicality to get to them, to impact their ability to be successful at both ends of the floor. I do not think that they, at any point in time in the previous 2 games, handled the Magic physicality all that well when they were trying to defend Orlando. And I certainly don't think they handled it all that well at various points in time when they were trying to score against Orlando. Now, I do think they solved some of those issues in their last game, and specifically in the second half when they put up a lot of points. But it was not to anybody's liking. And I thought the effort that you saw the Knicks come out with today, and this is my leading takeaway from the game, and you look at the final score, and I think the final score says a lot, 106-100, very different sort of basketball game than the last 2 that these 2 teams have played. We're going to get to it in a little bit. For my best bet, I took the under on this game, and I took the under without seeing what the line was. And it obviously it hit. So for them to kind of embrace the physicality, and like, look, it's tough to talk about this Magic team without talking about what they get away with and what they are allowed to get away with by the refs, and then what is called versus what is not called, and all those sorts of things. So I want to be, I do want to be careful, about how I discuss this game. I will just say I thought the Knicks embraced the challenge tonight, at both ends of the floor, and it wasn't always pretty. This was an ugly basketball game at times. I thought there were times where I was checking in at chatnix.com, our chat, which is almost 500 strong. Shout out to everybody in there. And there were some times during the game where people were a little, disenchanted with how the Knicks were playing. And I with all due respect to everybody in there, I kind of never shared that opinion, because when you play against this Magic team, these are going to be the sort of games that look ugly. They feel ugly. They feel like your team, whatever team you root for, is leaving stuff. Is leaving meat on the bone. Is leaving potential plays or points out there on the court. And the honest truth is that that's because the Magic play a brand of basketball more similar to what the Knicks used to play, where teams would face the Knicks and they would lose these games and then be like, and you'd hear fans upset at their own team. And once is an accident, what is it? Once is an accident, twice a coincidence, three times the trend. Well, it happened an awful lot. And eventually people just started coming around to the idea like, look, this is who the Knicks are. They involve you in ugly basketball games, and they know how to win a lot of them. That's this Magic team. So rarely are you going to go out there and play against the Orlando Magic and look great, even without Franz Wagner in there. It is a mentality that they have that is instilled by their coach, who went from being under fire to now is, especially if they get holed up for however long Franz is out, is going to probably find himself back in the Coach of the Year race. Anyway, so that's one reason why I don't want to diminish this win just because Franz went out. The other reason is that the Knicks were missing one of their own big guns in Karl-Anthony Towns. And before we get into all of the praise, and there's going to be a lot of praise to dish out after this win for a lot of players, including some unheralded players who have not had the opportunity to have praise bestowed upon them that much this season. I want to start with Kat, because I do think that is one of the most interesting, takeaways from the game. And I was struggling with the word there because I don't know exactly what the takeaway is. On one hand, the Knicks scored 106 points. They shot 43% from the field. They shot 31% from three. And then if you look at their shot chart, they took 35 threes, which means some quick math, means they took 56 shots that were inside the arc. Now, points in the paint, the Knicks scored 50. That's obviously a good deal. But if you looked at how the Knicks offense operated tonight, it felt like a lot of times they were operating in a phone booth. And they were working really hard. Again, it evoked Knick games of old. And I think the reason for that is because Karl-Anthony Towns was not out there to stretch the floor. And you felt the loss of his offensive impact, even putting aside what he does on an individual basis, hitting threes, driving, all those sorts of things. Now, he has had some immense struggles against this Magic team this year and against physical teams in general. So I'm not sure how much we were going to be able to count on Kat having a great individual scoring game. But either way, you missed him on the offensive end. And yet, everybody knows what my favorite words have become this year. And yet, you look up, Mitchell Robinson played, I have to think this is a season high, 25 minutes, got 8 offensive rebounds. There were times in this game, as there have been times for months at a time in recent years, where it felt like the Knicks' best offense was Mitchell Robinson grabbing an offensive rebound and kicking it out for another bite at the apple. So that's number one. Number two, it was hard for me to watch this game personally and not think about how they were sturdier, and especially sturdier in the half court defense because their defense on when the Magic were getting out and running was an atrocity. You know what? I'm going to pull back. It wasn't an atrocity. I'm going to get back to that in a sec because I want to talk about their defense on Magic fast breaks. Not even fast breaks, just Magic pushing the pace. But let's stick with the half court for a minute. The Magic in this game, and this is a team I know Orlando has the reputation that they have of being a dumpster fire or an offensive team. For anybody who may not have been paying attention over what's been going on recently, the Magic over the last, I just pulled up the last 10 games. They're 7th in the NBA in offense. Now, if you want to throw this back in my face and say, well, yeah, the Magic scored 100 points because they didn't have Franz. They did have Paolo. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conversation on Magic postgame shows about Paolo Banchero and what he maybe did or did not do tonight. In theory, because my issue with the Paolo Franz thing is I don't think they work great as a tandem. I think one of them is better than both of them. Now, the Magic started off the game like gangbusters, so that would seem to be evidence against my theory. But in any case, they still had Paolo. And so, and it didn't make a difference. I thought the Knicks did a really, really nice job. And I thought the only thing that was keeping the Magic offense in it for a lot of this game was they were just hitting threes at a rate that they usually don't hit. And I thought the Knicks were defending at a really high level in the half court. Does this team still have issues defensively that have nothing to do with Cat? Absolutely. They do not stay in front often enough. They do allow a little bit too much penetration. It was a little painful to watch, their best non-OG defender, Mikal Bridges, kind of not really be able to solve Des Bane. I think that was going on in the third quarter, and then they're just small. But if you look at what they were able to do out there and have Mitchell Robinson and Ariel Hukporti, and we're getting there, I promise, on the floor for 23, 25 for all 48 minutes. I could have sworn I thought there was like a minute of like Yabu at the 5. I guess not. I guess I was imagining that. So to have 48 minutes of, I'm going to say it, really good defense at the 5, Mitch may have gotten, had a couple of moments in the first half where he wasn't able to keep up or whatever. I thought Mitch played an awesome game. And you know what? Let's get to that right now, because in Cat's place were these two guys who played, as I just said, the entire game. And I think you can, it's not even a question that this was Ariel Hukporti's best game of the season. And I think you could make an argument that this was Mitchell Robinson's best game of the season. He has had more offensive rebounds in a game, I'm pretty sure, at some point this year, although he had 8 in 25 minutes. It's not bad. 13 rebounds in total. Did a couple of things on offense, actually. Also had a steal and a block. And so to see, I think, probably the best version of Mitch that we have seen on the defensive end. He's always awesome on the boards, but on the defensive end, I think that was a massive takeaway and probably the biggest big picture takeaway for me, other than the Knicks just, like, again, handling the Magic physicality pretty well in this game. But Ariel Hukporti, I'll throw it back to my girl, Monica McNutt. I had her on the first episode of NBA Takedown back before the Knicks played their first game in the middle of October. Came on with me and Jeff and Sean, and I asked her, I was like, give me a Knicks take that's not something that's already been talked about to death. Something that you're looking for, you're thinking about, you're excited about. And way back when, almost 2 months ago, she was like, Ariel Hukporti. I think Ariel Hukporti is going to have a big year. And, that looked like a stretch at first when he got on the court, and it looked like he had actually regressed from last season. But what do we always say? Or what do I always try to say, at least? Development, not always linear. And we talk all about Karl Anthony Towns' difficulties adjusting to what Mike Brown is asking of him when he plays the center position, and Gershon Yabusele's difficulties adjusting to what Mike Brown is asking of him to do when he plays the center position. And yet we haven't really had that conversation about Ariel Hukporti, who we should remember is a second-year player. And I know he, is a little bit older, but it's not like this guy is a five-year vet. He's still a young player relative to his experience in the league. So I really hope that what we saw today can be something of a springboard moving forward, because they need him. They need him. Mitchell Robinson, we know this is, he's going to miss more games. We know Karl-Anthony Towns, he's not going to play 81 games. So I thought you could look. I don't know that he will be one of my stars of the game. He probably will, actually. But I thought Ariel Hukporti's performance tonight was the biggest story from this game. It may be not the most impactful thing when it comes to like big picture stuff, although you do have to get through the regular season. And there's going to be regular season minutes there for Hukporti. And so for him to go out there and like, I'm just going to read his stat line real quick. In 23 minutes, Hukporti, 6 points. So you like that. He 4 for 4 from the line. How you doing? 7 rebounds, 3 blocks and a steal. And I don't even think the 3 blocks and a steal encompass for me what was most impressive, which is that he looked very comfortable and not overmatched and not intimidated in the pick and roll, in drop coverage, in the pick and roll. It looked like his placement, his moving his feet. He was getting good contests. His help defense all night was on point. Everything you wanted to see from Ariel Hukporti in this game, I think you saw. So when combined with Mitchell Robinson, which is again what makes the Knicks didn't have Karl-Anthony Towns in this game conversation an interesting one. Now look, no one should be, at least, arguing that the Knicks are a better team without Karl-Anthony Towns. That's crazy talk. They need him. They need him to be at his best. They need him to be at his best defensively. They need him to be his best offensively, individually. But if we're just talking about like one game and the season that Cat has had against these more physical teams, if you wanted to tell me that the Knicks, they didn't lose a ton from not having Cat in this game because of what Mitch gave them and because of what Hukporti gave them, I think that would be at least it would be an argument. You could make the argument. I'm not sure if I would make the argument. I think you could make the argument. Anyway, so that is kind of my big leading story. The other big, I guess, leading story for me is OG Anunoby. He had his appetizer, his I don't know, a bowl of soup, cup of soup against the Utah Jazz. They didn't need him against that Jazz team. They needed him tonight, and he showed up big. 21 points, 8 of 14 from the field, 5 of 7 from 3. Boy, did they miss that. And then defensively, I mean, he had 3 steals, but like you saw it on so many possessions. The next highest Knick in terms of individual plus minus in this game, ironically enough. Oh, wait, no, actually, sorry. It was Jalen Brunson. Okay. I thought we were going to go to someone else who we'll talk about in a bit. Jalen Brunson with plus 11. OG Anunoby was a plus 20. So that means in the 20 minutes that he was not on the floor, the Knicks were outscored by 14 points, and that doesn't surprise me at all. So awesome stuff from OG Anunoby, just everywhere they needed him to be on defense, and he's still ramping up. You can tell he's not fully back all the way yet. And so not only a big thanks to OG Anunoby for coming up and playing an incredible game, but thanks to OG Anunoby for being involved in, I think, what has to be the single funniest basketball. I was about to say basketball play. Not a basketball play. Not an anything play. That was the closest thing that I've ever seen on a professional field or court of any kind to what Des Bane did in literally just from a standstill position, chucking the ball off OG Anunoby's back, OG being out of bounds, was when like a quarterback rifles the ball into the ground, after a play has been whistled dead or when they're outside the pocket and there's nothing going on and they're going to throw it into the ground. It was a football play, if anything. And I want to emphasize the if anything. I mean, Andrew Claudio, my guy, texted during the game, and he was like, "Are we playing dodgeball out there? You could make a dodgeball comp, so that's fine." I mean, was Ben Stiller in the building? Maybe that's why Des Bane did that. Maybe Des Bane was auditioning for Dodgeball 2, and I apologize if there has already been a Dodgeball 2 made. I don't think there has been. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. So that was really funny. And then a couple more things before I get out of here. I mentioned Ariel Hukporti as like kind of the main unsung hero, or not unsung hero, but as the main guy who doesn't usually get his flowers, that should get his flowers after this game. The other guy I want to shout out is Gershon Yabusele, who 2 or 3 from deep. All of his field goals were from long range. Got to the line, made both of his free throws. 8 points. Ended up only playing 11 minutes. And again, Mike, this is another one where Mike Brown's rotations are interesting. He had Yabu come in for OG. So Yabu was the first sub in the game, 4 minutes into the game, or 5 minutes into the game, whatever it was. I thought he played a pretty good stint. I thought he played arguably his best stint as a Knick, or one of his 2 or 3 best stints as a Knick. And then he doesn't get on the floor again for a while in the second half. Look, Mike Brown's is marching to the beat of his own drummer, and that's fine because he's pushing rather a lot of correct he's pushing a lot of correct buttons. So I'm not gonna give Mike Brown any shit at all, but I did find that to be interesting. In any case, so shout out to Yabusele. Kolek, not a crazy night for him. But I did think his basket at the start of the fourth quarter was an important one, just because you were like, it was a close game. You were wondering how are the Knicks going to score with Jalen Brunson out. Deuce McBride. I should mention Deuce. I wrote Deuce up here too. So let me get to him. So Deuce McBride landed, he was fouled because the Knicks were fouled 8,000 times tonight and nothing was called. He was fouled. Actually, that one was called. Sorry, my mistake. The refs actually got that one right. And through the contact or whatever, suffered some sort of a lower leg injury. Shot the free throw, stayed in the game, went down the court, had a defensive possession, and then had to ask out of the game. I don't need to tell anybody. I know he didn't shoot it well tonight. I don't need to tell anybody here how important Deuce McBride is to this team. Hopefully that is not a serious injury. Hopefully. The Knicks play 2, I guess maybe 3 games, but depend if they make the cup final. They play 2 games that count in the standings over the next, what is it going to be? Over the next 7, 8, 9, I think 10 days. Pretty sure they play 2 in the next 10 or 2 in the next 9, whatever it is. So if McBride is down with something, I know everybody loves the cup. Yay. We rah, the whole thing. Sorry, Andrew, I just saw your message. The whatever. The cup, go win the cup, the whole thing. I'm more care about like whatever. There are 2 games on the schedule. So I would rather Deuce McBride if he is hurt, if he has to miss some time, I would rather him miss 2 games than 4 games or 5 games or however many games sometimes the Knicks or the NBA packs into a 9 or 10-day span. What else before Jordan Clarkson? I don't have anything to say about Jordan Clarkson. Jordan's he's pushing it. I'll just say that. He's pushing it a little bit. I'm just going to move on from that. So what I want to end on are Mikal Bridges shout outs. I know he didn't shoot well, 6 of 17. I thought Mikal Bridges actually played a nice game. The last guy that I want to talk about and I want to end on is Josh Hart. Josh Hart had for him, I would say a quiet 17 and 12. But I thought Josh Hart was the unsung hero of the game. They do not win this game without Josh Hart. He was there with a field goal or a 3-point field goal or a 2-point field goal, whatever, every time they needed him to be. I thought defensively he was really good tonight. And we have seen him be not really good at times against this Magic team this year. So great stuff from Josh Hart. And did I talk about Jalen Brunson? I don't think I talked about Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, awesome game. 30 points, 23 shots. Weird Jalen Brunson game in that he couldn't miss in the first quarter. Then he couldn't hit anything in the second quarter. Then he couldn't miss at the start of the third quarter. Then he couldn't hit anything at the end of the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter, I think he was fine. He was somewhat mediocre. Very strange Brunson game. Only 1 of 7 from 3. Maybe that's all it was. He was 9 of 16 inside the arc, which against this Magic team is exceptional. And they just, on a night like tonight, that's why the funniest part of this game, and obviously I opened the show with a joke about it. Mike Brown took out his core players with I think he did it after Jamal Mosley took out his key players. And Mike Brown's like, all right, if you're taking your guys out, I'll take my guys out. The game was not over yet. And the Magic had some shots there late, and they thankfully did not make this even more interesting than it should have been. But I have to think one of the reasons that Brown did that was because Jalen Brunson was at 37 minutes, and he would have been at 39 minutes if he had kept him in for the entirety of the time. And of course, he had to put Jalen Brunson back in for the last 30 seconds or whatever it was. So yeah, great game, Jalen Brunson. That's it. I don't think that there's anything this was just a good win. This was a good win against a team that they really struggle with. And, and I think that this Knicks team as currently constituted is going to continue to struggle. And this, put Cat aside, the Magic are so freaking big. And even their guards are big. Suggs plays big. Anthony Black plays big. They're just huge across the board. So when you have a Knicks team that obviously wants Jalen Brunson on the floor for whatever, 35, 36, 37 minutes, and then you have Deuce McBride getting big minutes and Jordan Clarkson getting big minutes, and currently Tyler Kolek getting important minutes. It's just a lot of small guys out there against a team that is so freaking big. So that's why that really, more than anything, is at the heart of me starting the show tonight with praise of this win. I think this is a win that should be praised. I think it was an important win. I said with Benji on Thursday night, before even the Jazz game, I said with Benji on Thursday night, there's no such thing as must wins in December. But the Sunday, this game today was a must show up, and honestly, I actually will go the extra step and say after Franz left, I did think at that point it was not a must. Again, there's no such thing as a must win now, but it was okay, the door got open for you. Now you're on even ground. Their all-stars out. Your all-star, even though he hasn't played like an all-star this year, is out. You're home. Go out and win the basketball game. And they went out and won the basketball game. So very impressive stuff from our Knicks today. That's all I got. So we're going to bring back a segment right now that we haven't had in a while, and I'm happy to have it. So this is $57 in FANCASH from our friends at Fanatics Sportsbook. Hey there, Knicks fans. Interesting game for sure, but what a start to the season it's been, especially at home. Yes, how could I forget that? 13-1 at home. How you doing? Nice. You think Bane saw Stiller sitting courtside and thought he was in it? This was a dodgeball match. Here's 50. Sorry, I stole the joke earlier, Andrew. Here's $57 in FANCASH for the 57-win pace the Knicks are on this year. On to the NBA Cup quarterfinals versus RJ and IQ. Is RJ back yet? I don't even. Is he Toronto? So the Toronto plays today. I know he didn't play in their last game. I have not checked. I'm checking their injury report right now. Quickly's day to day. RJ's still out, so it's no guarantee that RJ is going to play on Tuesday. I mean, I hope he plays. I hope he plays. I hope he plays. But yeah, $57. Thank you. It's funny. I've been making fun of Sean with a W. I've been on with him, I think, the last 2 or 3 weeks for the weekly wagers betting show that we do. And he keeps pushing this Knicks 55 or over win total futures bet. And I'm like, this team's not winning 55 games. Well, they're on a 57 win pace now. And and their second best player has not played well this year. So, and you look at some of the bench guys, much has been left to be desired from them. OG Anunoby missed a bunch of time. Brunson had to miss a couple games there. So I don't know. Maybe 55, maybe over 55 wins isn't that crazy. Team looks good right now. They're playing really good ball, which is cool. I know the Boston game stung, but even that game, I thought they did some good stuff in that game. And obviously they got exposed in a couple of particular ways, but hey, it was no OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby was back tonight. I think you saw the real Knicks, and I'm looking forward to talking about them with our super chats, starting with Riyadh. What's going on, Riyadh? Orlando offense, so much worse with Banchero versus Franz Solo. So I'll just read the numbers. Paolo had 16 points, 4 of 11 from the field, got to the line 6 times, as he always does, 5 for 6. Great job by him actually hitting the 3 tonight. He's not usually, he's whatever he was coming into the game, 27%. He hit 3 of 6. The number that stands out to me, 2 assists. And I think for me, and I understand he has had some decent assists. I'm pretty sure he's averaged 5 assists in his career at some point. I'll double check it right now. Like, there is something about when Franz is in there that the ball just seems to move a little bit more fluidly when he is at the head of the snake. His second year, Paolo, 5.5 assists. Last year, 4.8. This year so far, fewer minutes, but 3.9. So, not the way you want to see that trending. I tend to agree with you, Riyadh. I just think Franz is just like, he's an absolute stud. And it was funny. I'll take the drink for everybody on the recent Zach Lowe pod where they went through some fake Giannis trades. He said he got halfway down the road of something built around Banchero for Giannis, and then realized Banchero couldn't be traded until the summer. Like, they're never going to trade. Especially if Franz is out for a while, they're never going to trade Paolo. But even if that's not the case, they're never going to trade Paolo. But like, I don't know. Talk about something that would come out of left field and might actually be Galaxy brain in a good way. Breaking up those two, because I guarantee you somebody out there would give up. I don't know if the Bucks are giving up Giannis for Paolo, but somebody would give up something good. So good comment to start us off. All right, Adam Bendet, what's going on, Adam? How you doing, man? I actually liked Clarkson until about a week ago. It looks like he has completely lost his confidence. I hope he gets it back. So coming into this game, a game in which Jordan Clarkson shot, I don't think he made a shot, right? He was 0 of 5. Including that missed bunny at the end that, like, thank the good Lord that was not important. Coming into this game, Jordan Clarkson had, let's see if I could guess it right. I'm gonna guess he was shooting 41% from the field and 30% from 3. Let's see how close I got coming into the tonight. He was at 44% from the field. That's actually a bad job by me. He's up until the last few games, he's been really good from 2, and 30.5% from 3. Okay, 1.6 free throw attempts a game in 20 minutes. It's not ideal. And then the other number that you really just you don't love is under 2 assists per game in, again, 20 minutes of action. So like, I will stand by the fact he didn't have an assist today. He had 2 turnovers, no assists. I will stand by what I've been saying all season, which is the Knicks need a guy like Jordan Clarkson, who is someone that could come off the bench and get you buckets. There's no fancy, analytical way to say it. A guy who gets you buckets, can be a microwave scorer, your typical microwave scorer. And like, microwave scorers historically, do not have the most robust percentages. But given the difficulty of the shots that they take, they don't need to have the most robust percentages. Here's the thing about Jordan Clarkson. he does not need to be a classic microwave scorer because the Knicks have so much offensive talent that he's never going to be, or almost never going to be, in a game where Cat and Brunson are healthy for sure, the only guy out there who could do anything credible on offense, which is why with the offensive talent you see in the NBA today, these sort of players have kind of gone the way of the dinosaur, and why Clarkson himself got waived. There was nobody who wanted to trade for him at his salary. So that's number one. Number two, even if you don't account for that fact, there is the term that I want to use is critical mass. There is a critical mass of like missed shots that once you get past like the player archetype, for as much as you may say, yeah, but we need that player archetype. Well, all of a sudden, then it's no longer the player archetype you need. All of a sudden, it is too inefficient. All of a sudden, it is too inconsistent. And Clarkson right now is falling below that Mendoza line, where when you factor in all the other stuff, his defense and just some of the silly stuff that happens, it's just it's not the juice has no longer been worth the squeeze for him. Look, it's December. He has time to turn it around. They need him just like they need Yabusele. It's pretty painful right now. His minutes in like a lot of it feels like a lot of the last like 5-6 games have been kind of painful. So yeah, let's hope he gets it back indeed. Norman Jean King, what's going on, Norman Jean King? The Magic play overly physical, great when it works, but it's why they're always hurt. And Norman is not happy with Orlando. Look, I don't want Orlando to be hurt. If you want to tell me that's why Suggs is always hurt, I'll give you that in a heartbeat. I actually agree with you. I do think that is a big reason why a guy like Suggs is just always going to be a guy who's banged up. And he came into this year banged up. And he left the game hurt today at the end of the game. I thought the game was pretty much decided by the time he left, for whatever it's worth. Yeah, I don't think that's unfair. I just want to be very clear that that's not why Franz got hurt. And like, you hate to see the Franz injury, but in general, yeah, I do think you're right. I still don't buy this team as like, I still did. I never, even when they were playing well the last like 3 weeks, I still didn't buy them as a team that could actually make the finals. Could they beat the Knicks in a 7-game series? Absolutely. They could beat it. They're good enough to beat anyone in the East in a 7-game series. I don't think that they are good enough to win 3 series, even in the East, which is like, doesn't have any kind of a super team in there. So yeah, good stuff, Norman Jean. Next up, Anthony Sixto. What's going on, Anthony? How are you? JC is mentally discombobulated. That's a $10 word right there. Should be fine come February. Had a clear role for years and knew he and the whole team trying to define things. I'm ready to buy the heart MIDI is for real. Welcome back, OG. Hashtag Huxporty. See, interesting spelling from you there. You went with HUKS as opposed to HUX. I always go with HUX, but if you want to go with HUKS, I think that's fine too. But with what you did there, it's Huck Sporty, like Sporty Spice. That's a different way of looking at it. I don't know. I don't know that I have a real strong feeling about that. I've always felt that the Hart. I mean, he was Hart for 2 months last year, 2.5 months. That he was hitting like that mid-ranger at like 65% or something crazy. And I think he's been a sufficient player from that distance. I mean, I'll look it up right now. Hang on. Why am I going to sit here and pussyfoot around? Let's actually look up what the number is. So from floater range, Josh Hart. So he's been all over the place. The 2021 season with New Orleans, in 47 games, he was 51% or 50%. That's great. 88th percentile for wings. The next year, he played 41 games in New Orleans, 38% from that distance. Then he goes to Portland, he shoots 48% from that distance. So down, then up. Then his first year between Portland, the year he got traded to the Knicks, he was not good from that range the whole year. 23-24, he was bad again, 33%. Last year, this surprised me. I actually didn't, maybe this probably a lot from early in the season. He ended up at 45%. Now, the splits between early and late, I think it were probably pretty severe, but 45% last year, and this year, 44% from floater range. So, I don't know. I think it's real. I have confidence when he takes that shot. It'd be great if he could get it up over 50%, but 44% is good. 61st percentile for wings league-wide. And when you're a 72% finisher at the rim, which he is, that's a great number also. Hart shooting the hell out of the ball this year. His effective field goal percentage coming to this game was 58.6%. That's outstanding. And then his points per shot attempt, 124.6, 77th percentile league-wide. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yep, Andrew, I got you. Thanks. Okay. Thank you, Anthony. Here we go. My guy. Robert Cross. First time, long time. It's your boy, John. Need to address the transition defense. Huck Porty, interesting for the Knicks because of size, athleticism. And then Robert has another one. Teams like Orlando, Detroit are going to try to punk the Knicks. Need to be ready to punch them in the jaw when necessary. Look, the Knicks have it in them to here's the problem. The Knicks are too good to play that way. And I know how that's going to come off by me saying that. And I'm going to say it again. The Knicks are too good to play that way. Now, you could tell me that Oklahoma City is playing that way, and they're the best team that we've ever seen, seemingly. They have like 6 of the best 15 defenders in the sport, or 7 of the best. Well, I don't know what the hell they have unfairly stacked the decks defensively, so they have the luxury to play more like that because that is their biggest strength. The Knicks, that is not their biggest strength. Their biggest strength is their offense, which probably their offensive rating, I'm sure, went down a little bit today. Maybe it falls to 3rd in the league. It was 2nd. The point is, that's what's really good. That's how they need to play. And that's what I mean when I say they're too good to play that way. Now, it does not mean you can abandon that part of the game. You have to be able to still play physical because no team could win it all without being able to play physical. No, there has never been a purely finesse team that has won the NBA title, and there will never be a purely finesse team. Even the Pacers last year, who may have been holding the Larry O'Brien trophy if Halliburton doesn't go down with that injury, they were not a finesse team. They were fast on offense, and they passed it great. They weren't finesse. They were tough. They got tough when it mattered. You need to be able to get tough when it matters. But the Knicks cannot stoop to that level completely because it'll throw them out of what they do well, which is scoring a bazillion points. The challenge for them is to be able to continue to run their offense and get points in a way that is not just here, Jalen Brunson, go, rescue us. And that is the other compliment that I will give them today. I did not think the Knicks shot well today, and I thought they still got a lot of good looks against a really good defense. And it wasn't just Jalen Brunson doing Jalen Brunson shit, although by necessity, without Cat, that was a big part of it because they needed it to be. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, Robert. And I'm not disagreeing with you. Where I will just go back to briefly is you mentioned the transition defense. So again, I never like to. I think overall the transition defense has been okay to good this year. That is my impression. Let's see if the numbers back up my impression. So in terms of points per 100 possessions, the Knicks give up through transition play. They are 20th, so not great. Where they are very good is they don't tend to allow a lot of transition plays. They are 7th in the league in terms of lowest frequency of transition plays allowed. They are also exceptional. They are just as good when it comes to allowing transition plays off of live rebounds. They are 8th in the league at limiting transition frequency, limiting transition opportunities off of live rebounds, which is why I think today that was uncharacteristic of them. And I do think that was probably a great job by the Magic's coaching staff, identifying something that is not a weakness of the Knicks, but is probably something that they saw on the tape. Like, hey, we could exploit this if we really make an effort to. My guess would be in Toronto, against Toronto, they will clean that up. Now, Toronto in transition, Toronto, funny enough, they are the most frequent transition team in the league. They push it off of steals more than any team in the league, and they push it off of live rebounds more than any team in the league. By the way, Orlando, second in terms of pushing the ball off of live rebounds. So you know what? Instead of maybe praising Orlando's coaching staff, maybe I should actually ding the Knicks coaching staff for not having their team a little bit more ready for those Orlando pushes. And yet, even as I say that, I'm hesitant. I got there. I'm hesitant to criticize the Knicks too much because there were a lot of defensive possessions in terms of defense in transition where, and I think Mike Breen said this on the broadcast, where I did think the Knicks were back. They were back. They just couldn't stop Orlando. And again, that goes to my original point about this being a tough matchup because Orlando is so freaking big. And a lot of times your players that are back, obviously, are your perimeter players because those are the players who are closest to the other side of the court. It's not going to be your big guys, and the Knicks have small guards. So you add it all up and it wasn't a great formula today, but look, I'm almost happy they got this practice with it and they won the game because they sure as shit are going to see it against the Raptors on Tuesday and they better be ready for it then. By the way, the third team in terms of pushing off of, and this should not surprise anyone who has watched this team this year, we've watched them 3 times, the third best team in terms of pushing off of live rebounds and in transition frequency in general, Miami. So it is a possibility that today, Tuesday, and then if they make it that far, or even if they don't make it that far, the next game the Knicks play, they will face the 3 best transition frequency teams, offensive transition frequency team in the league. This will be great practice for them to see if they can get it right. They need to do a better job of it than they did today. Okay. And then one last one from Robert. Bonus point, Hukporti is far more important to the Knicks than Yabu. I don't know how to respond to that. He has, if that's the case, so there's 2 ways I could address this. If Hukporti winds up being a far more important player to the Knicks than Yabusele does this season, that's really bad. And I'm going to say it again. I think that the mid-level, the fact that they spent the mid-level on him, I know me and Jeremy, may not see eye to eye on this. I think it's significant that they went after him. They could have gone after a lot of players. They went after him with the mid-level. So if Hukporti ends up being more important to the Knicks this year than Yabusele, that'll hurt them. So I think it might hurt them a lot. In terms of the player archetype of the more traditional 5 is a more important player to the Knicks than the combo 4-5, can play with the center, can also play at maybe a little bit at the 5. I don't know how I feel about that. Do they need Hukporti? I think they need him because they spent the money on him and they were counting on him to be a top, 7-8 rotation guy. So to not have that is just I don't know. I think that would really hurt. Okay. Spreewell, what's going on? Spreewell 20. Thank you for the very generous, great pronunciation there, Mac. Generous super chat. OG is a stud and could do much more offensively if given the chance. We'll get back to that in a second. Another consequence of the cat trade is limited chances. Apologies to Bridges. I killed him last year. Keep up the good work, KFS. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. So OG is an interesting bird. Look, there is no team in the league that has a top 4 that ostensibly commands as many shots as the Knicks do. And part of if you've watched the show before, which it sounds like you have, you've heard me say some version of this before. It like there was only one ball, and I think that was a major problem. I think that was the most major problem for the Knicks last year. I think that's the biggest reason why their offense went sideways, far more than whether centers were guarding Josh Hart. I think I just don't think something was off in the water last year, and that's what I was most curious about how. That's what I was most curious about how Brown would handle the rotation and specifically like getting all these guys opportunities. To your point about he could do much more offensively than if given the chance, I actually disagree with that. I think Bridges is the guy coming off of last year who you looked at and were like, why would you trade all of this for this guy if you were not going to try to tap into everything that we have already seen him do a lot of over the course of his career? OG, I think, is a guy that can do more than he did last year and has done more this year than he did last year. He has put the ball on the floor more. But he has certainly attempted more threes. But I don't know if OG Anunoby is a guy that I want like running plays for my team. I want him reacting, and I want somebody. I think someone else is other players on this team are better served being the first domino. And I think OG has it in him to be an exceptional domino in the chain. But even then, there are times where he drives it into traffic, and I don't. If he has a lane and he has a path, and he had a couple pathways tonight, and boy did he finish them. When he doesn't have a path, I think it could be a little bit. It could be a little dicey for him sometimes, especially when you force him to make a more significant, more meaningful #meaningful dribble move. But look, I love what we've seen from OG. He is a stud. I think there is a world where in a more traditional offense where you had a more traditional top two guys, and I don't think Cat is a traditional top two guy, that OG could be your like somewhat classic number 3 scorer. I think Mikhal's probably better suited for that role. But OG's awesome. He's the most important. I mean, look, the numbers are what the numbers are. The numbers say he's the most important Knick. You're obviously a lot of people would give Jalen Brunson that title, but the numbers say, at least the on-off numbers say it's him. So, okay. What do we got here? Please remove KFS episode from October 27th, 2020 from your archives. So this is where my brain is just shot. Like, completely shot. I don't know what the fuck happened on October 27th, 2020. So I'm just going to look up 2021 Knicks roster stats. Okay. October 27th, you say. So what did they do that? Maybe I'll look for transactions. Let's see. October 27th, 2020. No, not that the trans. Oh, so this was the weird COVID when everything was happening. So had the previous league year even ended yet? I don't know. I don't know what the hell happened on October 27th, 2020. I will hold on. This is going to be dangerous because I'm going to have to scroll all the way back up. I'm going to try to check the comments to see if anybody could tell me. Hang on here. Oh, wow. There's a lot of comments. Now I'm going to have to scroll all the way the fuck back up. All right. You know what? I'll check the comments at the end because I'm going to get lost with the super chats and I don't want to do that. I'll get back to this one later, Jeremy. Next up, Wondering Tumnus, taking the starters out of a 12-point game with 90 seconds left. Toto, we're not in Tibbs's anymore. Good. I wish we were giving out another $25 in FanCash. I'd give you it for that one. Speaking of which, oh my God, I forgot who it is. Steven Sgiame, if you're out there, shoot us an email. Maybe you already did. I haven't actually. You may have shared us an email. I haven't checked the Knicks Film School email account yet this weekend because I've been away. We stayed in the city last night. But if you're hearing this and you haven't shot an email Knicks Film School at gmail.com. Robert Cross with another one. First time, long time. It's your boy John. Head coach Brown's approach to the roster is exactly what the Knicks need to coalesce the identity for later in the year. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, I think Brown's doing a great job. I think he's, he's not going to show up on any coach of the year lists, but he's doing a great job. It seems like, again, the one guy that I've personally been a little skeptical about whether or not he's been fully bought in is Karl Anthony Towns, and a lot is being asked of Cat. So if that is the case, I totally get it. I hope that's not the case. But just as far as everybody else, I thought, like, if you watch them tonight, that's a team that has an identity, knows their identity, is playing with confidence. They're bought in. They're doing all the right things on offense. They're doing everything. I thought they were doing a lot of right stuff on defense. I think the defense looked cleaner today. I think there were less unnecessary helps, less over helps today. On first blush, I thought that. So yeah, good stuff. I love this one. JDM, I want Mitch to retire and Nick. Listen, I do this periodically. I will do it again for anybody who may have missed the previous, dozen shows where I've done this. But if you look at Knicks franchise history and you look at guys who have been here for a while, no one's ever going to play 15 years for the franchise again like Patrick Ewing did. But Mitchell Robinson is in year 8. If he stays one more year, if he is here next season, he will be tied for having the 9th longest tenure in terms of amount of seasons being a part of the team for at least part of a season. He will be tied for 9th. Listen to these names: Dick Barnett, Harry Gallatin, Allen Houston, Earl the Pearl Monroe, Trent Tucker sneakily was on the team forever. Bill Cartwright. Oh, sorry, actually, no, not Bill Cartwright. Bill Cartwright was here for 8 seasons. So right now, Mitch is tied with Cartwright, Guerin, Dick McGuire. Again, some heavy hitters. John Starks and Kurt Thomas. Now, the Kurt Thomas years were not consecutive because he was here on the 2012-13 team. If Mitch could ever get up to 10 seasons with the team, so that would require him to be here next season and the season after that, he'd be tied for 3rd all-time behind only Ewing and Carl Braun with the following people: Bill Bradley, Walt Clyde Frazier, Jackson, Charles Oakley, Willis Reed, ever heard of him? And then my guy, Charlie Ward, who I love. I will always appreciate Charlie Ward and always felt like Charlie Ward got too much shit in the moment. But like, that's the company that Mitch is like already kind of pretty close to. And that's a really special thing. And it's a special thing to me. It sounds like it's a special thing to you too. And I would love nothing more than for him to stick around for quite some time. Okay, here we go. Let's keep it going. Hush Zoo. Des Bane is going to be the next big Nick villain. He certainly was today. Playoff series with the Magic will be very, very fun to watch. Gritty game. Prayers for Franz. So, 100% on all that. It was a gritty game. I kind of, at this point, had the Magic penciled in to a top 4 playoff seed. Now, the Franz, if there is a serious Franz injury, I think that changes that. But I think I had them penciled in with Detroit, New York, really just those 2 teams. I had them penciled in with Detroit and New York. I think there's a lot. I think, I made a bold prediction a few weeks ago that Miami would be a top 4 seed. If I'm also saying that I thought Orlando was a top 4 seed, well, then I don't have Cleveland in there, to say nothing of Boston, who is making a push, to say nothing of Atlanta, who I don't think we've heard the last of Atlanta yet. We'll see what happens when they get Trey back. But it's going to be an interesting East. So to hear you say that, Hush, are we getting that as a 1-4? Are we getting that as a 2-3? I could see either one. Who knows? Maybe at this point, if the Franz injury is significant, you might get it as like a 2-7. I don't know. Or hopefully not a 3-6. I would like for the Knicks to have a top 2 seed. Adam 61661, fitting Sunday game look like football. Nova Knicks. Yeah, it was rough and tumble out there, but better to be rough and tumble and come away with the win than not. Guy Huber, then. Haven't heard from Guy Huber in a while. What's going on with Guy Huber? I love every member of this team, but please never play Clarkson ever again. Great win. Look, I know his efficiency was bad last year and really the last 2 years, and I kind of attribute it to him playing on a terrible Jazz team. So it's actually higher this year, believe it or not. 2 years ago with Utah, a truly dreadful Utah team, he was at 47 effective field goal percentage. Last year, a little over 49%. Coming into this game, he was at 51 effective field goal percentage. Now, a 51 effective field goal percentage is not good. So it needs to improve. He's actually shooting better. I think given the offensive talent around him, you want more. And against his peers league-wide, I don't think this is inclusive of tonight. He was in the 38th percentile for wings at 111 points per 100 possessions. Again, coming into tonight, that number will obviously go down. So it needs to get better, but it's also it's really bad right now. It is not the disaster I think it feels like in the moment. I think it'll get better. You Spree with another one. Thank you for the generosity here. OG plus 21, great minutes from Huck. Took my son to the game. That's awesome, man. For his birthday. Oh, happy birthday. That's awesome. Happy birthday to you, Spree's son. I hope your son had he had a good birthday because the Knicks won. So he asked, does that guy think he's playing dodgeball? About pain. We're sticking with the dodgeball theme. That's awesome, man. Again, wish your son a happy birthday. Make sure you get him started on Knicks Film School post games early, because I'll probably be doing this until I'm 65. So I'm going to need him to watch for a long time. Okay, Bill Peterfriend. Bill Peterfriend, always keeping it a buck. Let's see what Bill has to say. Difficult to get too excited. I knew it was going to be something like this. Difficult to get too excited about the win until we know how Deuce is. Oh, okay, that's fair. Hope he's not out too long. Yeah. The fact that he didn't leave immediately makes me hopeful, but completely. Like Deuce McBride, if Jalen Brunson, I don't know, you want to do a quick ranking here? All right, Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby are 1-2 in some order as the two most important Knicks. After that, it gets hard. Is Cat the third most important Knick? Is Bridges the third most important Knick? Is Hart the third most important? You can make a case for any of these people. It's probably between McCall and Cat. Again, I would have had Mitch in this conversation a month ago. I don't know that I could put him in this conversation now, but then again, the defense is what it is in large part because Mitch hasn't looked like Mitch. So maybe that's all the more reason why Mitch should be considered. Is he the third most important Knick? Whatever. Deuce feels like he is just under that next conversation for me after OG and Brunson, and yet there will be people who justifiably point to a lot of advanced statistics and they say that's silly. Deuce should be in that conversation, and maybe he is in that conversation. I don't know. He's very important to the team, and they cannot afford to be without him for very long. Not without Landry Shamet, at least. If Shamet was here, I would say, all right, he fills in a little bit of those gaps, but not without. All right, here we go. Matt Knicks Scotland, who congratulations to him. He just his wife just gave birth. Beautiful baby boy. Message from Julius. So Julius is I believe the middle name of his son. 6 p.m. tip-off in the UK, beer in hand. I'm doing the rest of a bottle of rosé I opened during the Jazz win. So cheers. Newborn asleep. Knicks win. This is what paternity leave is all about. Did I get paternity leave after Isabel was born? I think I got 3 weeks. After Scarlett Ray was born, I got 3 days. Isabel, I think I got 3 weeks. It was nice, from what I recall. But there was no paternity leave from Knicks Film School at that time. I can tell you that. I did not do the post game the night that Isabel was born, though. Famously, Andrew did that, and he will always remember that because my wife super chatted in from the hospital bed from which she gave birth. I love my wife so much. I don't say that enough on here. Shout out to Dolores. All right, what do we got next? Paul McFarlane, what's going on, Paul? Knicks with the second lowest point total of the season. Oddly enough, they won both games. Maybe the secret to beating Orlando is to sit Cat. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it enough. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse here. What was their lowest? Was it the Boston game, the second game of the year? I feel like that's what it was. They didn't score a lot of points that game. Yeah, 105-95. So they've scored at least 105 points in every game, which is pretty crazy. They're a really good offense in other news. I mean, even you look at their losses. Look at their losses. Their losses, they've scored 117, 121, 113, 107. That was the first loss against the Magic. 125, 111, 107 against Miami. Like, this team, man, they put up buckets. Or put in buckets. Put up points. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. Yeah, but you have a crying, laughing emoji, but a lot of truth in jest there, Paul. Okay. Here we go. Stevens Giame, you are here. Now I'm going to check my email in real time to see if you emailed yet, because I'm going to feel like an asshole if you did, and I just haven't gotten it yet. Stevens, if you hear me, I don't see your email here. Email Knicks Film School at gmail.com so you can claim your prize. Okay. Don't care that Franz went down. Knicks owed the Magic one because the refs let them get away with goonball all the time. Yes, I agree. They do. And it's funny that Fred Katz went on Zach Lowe's pod a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, whatever it was, and was like, the Magic need to foul more. Mission accomplished, Fred. Thanks for that. Thanks for putting that out there. Really, we needed it. Where do the Magic rank in personal fouls per game? That has to be a statistic that the league keeps, right? Personal fouls per game, the Magic rank. They're still not really fouling. They're right middle of the pack, 21.1. But so that just goes to show the refs can't call anything. I got a couple of texts from my brother today. Shout out to Chris. Was like the referee, and his son is about to start playing either D1 ball or D3 ball. He's an exceptional ball player, so he has a lot of experience with high level high school ball. And he tells me all the time, high school refs are much better than NBA refs. It's an atrocity. It really is. It's an atrocity, and the refs have lost control. And there's not much more to say. So yeah. Wondering Tomlinson with another one. OG and McCall off ball defensively is enjoyable viewing. I would love some statistics updated for today. And again, cleaning the glass is pretty good. So maybe these will be inclusive of today. I doubt it. But like the numbers with defensively specifically, the numbers with OG and McCall off the floor defensively. So I don't know if this is inclusive of today. Probably not. But 550 possessions. They're outscoring teams by 16.7 points per 100. 106.9 points per 100 possessions given up. Here's the interesting thing. The turnover rate with both of those guys on the floor is only 14.9%, which is like a little above league average. That's fine. There is one lineup that they're in when opponents are turning the ball over 20% of possessions. Here's that lineup if you want it. This is what did I tell you before about McBride having an argument for one of the most important Knicks? Brunson, Bridges, and Anunoby, Towns, and Deuce. again, coming into tonight, I don't think this is updated yet. They were turning over opponents over 1 out of every 5 possessions. That freaking lineup, giving up 105.6. So teams hitting a lot of shots against that lineup, notably 60.5% effective field goal percentage. Usually when OG and McCall are on the court, it's a stingy effective field goal percentage, which has been a big issue for the Knicks this year. The really good, and here's the thing, before anybody yells at me about, oh, well, you always say wonderful things about Josh Hart, Deuce should be with those other guys. Brunson, Hart, Bridges, Anunoby, and Towns, and I know we've been looking at these numbers more recently with this group now, the new starting lineup, not today, obviously, plus 34.6, 95.1 defensive rating. So again, the starting lineup that Mike Brown has gone back to, last year's starting lineup, is like the best 5-man unit in the sport. Only 101 possessions. So limited sample size. But anyway, I don't know how I went down that long road. Thanks, Wondering Thumbness. OG team, what's going on, OG? Is it crazy to say that I felt like a little more confident in winning this specific game with Cat out? No, it's not crazy. It's not crazy. I think it's exactly the sort of thing that, like, you know, places like here exist for this purpose. You know, this is like good, healthy basketball conversation. Now, it can go from being like good, healthy basketball conversation to being like very ugly, unproductive basketball conversation in a matter of like seconds, because Cat's a bum and Cat's a loser and you can't win anything with Cat. Once the conversation turns to that, it becomes ugly and useless and a waste of everybody's time. And oftentimes it does turn into that. But if you want to have a conversation about whether or not the Knicks benefited in this specific game against this specific team, with how Cat has looked for a majority of the season, how he has looked defensively, especially against this team the last time they played, and most importantly, how he has looked on offense against this team, where it does not seem like he has been comfortable against them. If you want to have that conversation about this game, I think it's a fair conversation to have. Again, I don't know that I would go that far. And then the last thing I'll say, how much does what you're saying here, how much is that impacted by how well Mitchell Robinson and Ariel Hukporti played tonight? Because we are sitting here and we are talking about the fact that the Knicks got 48 minutes of really, really good center play, and they won by 6. So if either Mitch or Huck was not like really good tonight, I don't know if we're talking about a Knicks win. And I think that is an important part of the conversation where Cat is concerned. Again, if we're talking about this specific game. But you know what? Mitch did play well. Huck did play well. So here we are. Okay, let's keep it going here. As my wife has walked home, so we gotta finish this baby up. My wife has not walked home. I don't know why I said my wife has walked in the door. My wife has walked into the home. So she's probably going to be like, you got to help me with these Rugrats. Chris G. Ireland. What's going on, Chris? Feels good to get a win like this, especially with the low 3-point percentage. I will look up that in a second. Showing different ways to win. Thank you, Clyde, for more Hukporti and Banchero. I noticed the Banchero tonight. I don't think I've ever noticed the Banchero before. I noticed the Banchero tonight. That was really great. Yeah, it was a stat that I kept track of a lot last season. I haven't kept track of it as much this season, but let's do. So the Knicks tonight shot 31% from 3. This year, when they shot, there's a kind of a clean cutoff at 30. We'll go below 34%. So below 34%. Coming into this game, they were 2-4, so they're 3-4 now. That's good. That's encouraging. That's an encouraging sign. Those wins have come against Charlotte, Dallas, and now Orlando. So That's Orlando without Franz, yes, but Orlando. So best win of the season when they didn't shoot it well. And by the way, give the Orlando Magic credit for them not shooting it well. By the way, they have not really. There was another game against Orlando with the first loss where they didn't shoot it well and they got smoked. Kevin Nanashevsky, what's going on? Kev, you owe me another beer. OG McCall are freaking thriving together. Hart really good. Second half, I think you mean. Hawk Yabu, good minutes other than the end. 16-7, top 16 and 7. Top 3 net rating. Brown doing well. Yeah, man. Look, are there people out there who are like, I don't know how you could be hand wringing about this team right now. This is a good basketball team. It's a good basketball team. They're playing well. Are they a great basketball team? If your standard is Oklahoma City, then you're probably going to be disappointed. If your standard is like normal NBA league, not team that is on pace to win 78 games or whatever the hell they are, like they're in a really good spot. They have the third most wins in the league. Yeah, tied for the third most wins in the league. Yeah, it's pretty good. Matthew Gentini, good win. Too many awful Jordan Clarkson performances lately. Agree on both counts, Matthew. Jordan Clarkson has to be better. I'm not burying him just yet. Bill Peterfriend with another one. This team isn't good enough defensively without Cat to be a contender. If we are to win a thing, we need his offense unless you trade him for AD or Giannis. Completely agree with the first part. And also they're just not good enough without Cat. I would say that there is a world where if you traded him for Anthony Davis and Anthony Davis turned back the clock and played like Anthony Davis when he was younger and like one of the 2 or 3 most impactful defenders in the sport, as opposed to one of the maybe 10 most impactful defenders in the sport, then we could have an interesting conversation. I don't think that guy's coming back, so I have no interest in an Anthony Davis trade, putting aside all of his current health issues. The Giannis thing is, it is what it is. I don't know what else to say about that. It's fucking Giannis. Okay. What do we got here? Jeffrey Glynn. What's going on, Jeffrey? Hate seeing Franz go down. Bane is a joker. Joker or jokester? Or both. I don't know. Not a great showing, but we got the physical win with minimal injuries. Thank God we don't need to play this team for a while. God, we missed OG. Be careful there, Jeffrey. There is a 50-50 shot that these 2 teams will play again next weekend. And regardless of whether the Knicks win or lose their quarterfinal game, because Orlando was going to the Cup. So you may have to see these guys again very soon. Look, was it a great showing? No. I don't know that there have been 5 wins this season that I have been more personally, personally more happy with what I saw. And I understand Franz was out. I just was really, really happy with how the team showed up today, how they performed. It wasn't clean. It was ugly at times. They didn't execute all the time. Even their process at times wasn't perfect. I thought it was a really good performance. I thought that what they brought to the floor was really positive. I'm really high on the team after this game. Drew P, what's going on? I fully trust our top 7 and them only, assuming no Giannis trade. I'd want a Chris Middleton or CJ McCollum buyout ball handler and a Yabu wing trade. F Bane. So I'm just going to double check and make sure that I'm not an idiot here, which I've been an idiot in the past. So first apron restrictions, NBA buyout. This should give me what? Yeah, exactly. I know I'm not crazy. If a team is over the first apron, which the Knicks are, they cannot sign a player waived midseason if that player's prior salary exceeded the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is about $14 million. And just again, to make sure I'm not crazy, CJ McCollum this season makes $30 million. Chris Middleton makes $33 million. So CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton will not be playing on the Knicks this year. It is legally barred by the collective bargaining agreement. So sorry to burst your bubble and the bubble of anyone else who wanted either of those guys. Okay, scrolling down some more. I'm self-producing in case you guys can't tell tonight. Mark, the great Mark Roskus had an event. Okay, Andrew Badow, what's going on, Andrew? Bain, good dude, OG from foggy London town. His pushback, now forever family, lure as his first fist fight. Any other players results in a bench clearing brawl. Yeah, they said it in the game. They said it during the broadcast. Anybody else, that would have been a big thing. You can't do that shit, man. I don't know what Bain was thinking. I haven't seen a quote from him from after the game. I'm sure there has been quotes already. I mean, I'll take a very, very quick look here. Ariel Huckporty got the defensive player of the game. Good for him. An OG got the honorable mention for defensive player of the game. Please give me a break. McDeuce is the ankle is still being evaluated. Yeah, I don't got anything else. Okay, good stuff, Andrew. Thank you. Kevin Danishevsky with another one. Thanks, Kev. Please show lemon meringue magic footage pre and post Franz. I saw the tweet. I saw it. I'm not going down that road. Lemon meringue's doing just great. He thinks Denny is better. LMAO. Denny is great, but the fact that Franz is elite defensively and good as a number one opens up so much for the Magic. Look, do I think it's crazy for a Portland Trailblazers content creator to say that he thinks Denny Avdia is better than Franz Wagner? No, that's not it. That's not the level of indefensible of me getting on here and being like, I don't even know what the fuck I would say. You know, I'd rather have Karl Anthony Towns than Giannis Antetokounmpo or something like to that effect. That's not like levels of crazy. It's a homer take, you know, it's a homer take. I don't want to kill him for it. Denny's having a great season. He's going to be an all-star, I would think. I hope Franz could still be an all-star because God knows he deserves it. But I'm with you. I think Franz is better. I would take Franz, but I don't think we're talking levels here. Paul with another one. Paul McFarlane, what's going on, Paul? Knicks with the second lowest. Oh, wait, no. I already got that one. That's weird. Magic, this is from Kevin. Magic should trade Paolo to the Kings. He fits. That's so mean of you. Why would you say that? Why would you want to do that to Paolo? Paolo seems like a lovely guy. Chris Dayton. What's going on, Chris? How you doing? No cat. Deuce was off. JC wasn't tall enough to ride the rides. And it's a W. Just love Mikal Bridges or Mike Brown playing more guys. Come playoff time, this team will be prepared and versatile. Enjoy the ride, Knicks fans. Yeah, I think you summed it up really well, Chris. This was a really solid win. Deuce couldn't buy a three, and he's been the hottest shooter in the league the last 2 weeks. Again, I don't know how else to say it. This is a good team. This is a good team. They're playing well. It would be so cool to see them, you know, get to the cup final. I'm at the point now where I could at least, and again, I don't care about the cup at all. I could at least sit here and be like, that would be cool. It'd be cool for everybody to look at the Knicks after 24 games, I guess it would be, and be like, hey, the team that a lot of people thought was the best team in the East, guess what? They're the best team in the East. That would be cool. I think it would be good. I think it'd be cool for them. Although I don't love the fact that the teams that make these cup final games, sometimes their season goes down the shitter. So, but it would be cool to see them get that far. Moranis 10. I hope I got that right. OG should never be in trades, and I'm done playing with the Florida teams. Well, guess what? You're going to play a Florida team next week, whether you like it or not. They just seem to play wrestling more than actual basketball. Yeah, and look, credit to their coaches, credit to Mosley, and credit to Spo. They make it work for them. It sucks to have to play them, but we used to be like this team. We really did. We used to be like this team, and I'd like to think that I'd like to think that we've advanced past. Again, like I said earlier, I'd like to think that we advanced past having to play this way. But in any case, yeah, I would very much like to be done playing with them. I think I've gotten to the portion where I brought up what happened on October 27, 2020. I don't see anybody with an answer. So, New York Tony, am I wrong thinking when OG is out, it's impact the team more than when Cat's out? No, you're not wrong about that. I don't think you're wrong about that at all. My 2 cents. Armand, great win. Send Jordan Clarkson to the sun. Hashtag positive impact. I think we're done. Okay. We're going to end on that one. Sure. I don't want to send Jordan Clarkson to the sun. I want Jordan Clarkson to be here and a better scorer than he has been this season. And I will just leave it at that. And here we go. Let's see. Oh, look at me. I found the right banner. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to the Knicks Film School post-game show. Really do appreciate everybody spending some time on a Sunday afternoon. Over 1,000 people watching. Love to see that. Hope everybody's had a great weekend. So this week, obviously, light on games. We got the quarterfinal match coming up on Tuesday, and then we'll see when the next game is after that. But, of course, we will have wall-to-wall coverage of all of it. Me and Jeremy are coming up tomorrow recording a live show, so be sure to tune in for that at some point tomorrow night. We will let you know what time via tweet tomorrow. What else? If you dig the show, help us out. I mean, obviously, we appreciate all the super chats, but in addition to that, anybody listening, feel free to drop a nice review or a 5-star rating. I finally got it. Hold on. We got to press pause. Jeremy just tuned in. That was the day of the Des Bain interview. Des Bain, oh my God, I forgot. Des Bain was a KFS guest. I completely forgot that. Oh my God, how did I even get that? I think I knew someone who knew his agent. And it was set up, and this was during the pre-draft process. And then that was a fun interview. I remember that. And I remember my guy, Spencer Perlman, shout out to Spencer, wherever he is. I hope you're doing well. Was like, he was so high on Des Bain. He was higher on Des Bain than almost any other prospect from that draft. And the Knicks had a chance to get him, obviously, and they didn't. And look, their pick turned out pretty well. Emmanuel Quickly, how you doing? But he was so high on Des Bain, and I remember I was so impressed with him during that interview. But I guess now, yeah, I have to erase it. Jeremy, that is a great throwback, man. Thank you for that. Here's how old and decrepit I am, and my mind is so gone. I forgot. At no point during this post game or during the game today, I was like, "Oh, that guy. I talked to him once." Completely fucking in one ear and out the other. What a sad state of affairs. Okay, I'm gonna sign us off. Everybody, have a great rest of your day. Shout out to our Patreon. Subscribe to that. Knicks Film School newsletter. You know the deal. And we'll be back with more fun and games before you know it. Peace out. Oh, yeah. Wait, hold on. No, last thing. I was going to say, oh, yes, that's right. I almost forgot. If there is a semifinal game, stay tuned. We're going to have information on a watch party. Sean told me to tell that. If there's a semifinal game and they make the semifinals to the Cup, we're going to have a watch party somewhere. So stay tuned for information on that. All right, now I'm going to go. Peace out. Talk to you later.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.